Hi folks, I just thought I'd talk about the importance of the flat ninth, the flat 9 note in flamenco guitar. It's kind of one of the notes that's so important to the character of flamenco, just in the same way as the flat 5 is in blues and jazz. I mean, you get a flat 5 in blues. That kind of thing. There's your flat 5. Right? Now, flat 9. Okay, it's the same note as the second note of the scale. But basically, if you played a whole octave, which is 8 notes, and then you went to the next one, that would be the 9th note, which is all a bit confusing, really. So forget about the theory. The flat 9 is going to be 1 fret up from the root note of your scale. So if I play an open E, say I'm playing an open E, and I'm going to use E Phrygian, which is the key that Soliar and several other, flamenco stuff uses. Only just 1 fret up from that open E, in other words, the F note, just 1 fret up. And when you play various pieces, falsettos, and you conclude on the E major chord, if you bring this E note on the 2nd fret on the 4th string, bring that up to the F, so and you can add, if you wish, the 3rd fret on the 2nd string, which will give you an E7th with a flat 9. And that's a typical chord that players will conclude on. That instead of the straightforward E chord, they'll conclude on this. You get that little bit of dissonance from that flat 9. So we like, so there it is. If I go to my E on the 5th fret, 7th fret on the 5th string, and play it against the open E string, if I play a kind of a power chord like this, you hear lots of people doing an introduction to Soliar or something like that, and they'll use this chord, and then where my little finger, that's also on an E, an octave higher, and I could just bring that up one. Okay, 1 fret up from the root note. That's all you need to know. Forget the rest of your theory, just 1 fret up from the root note. E here, E here. Right, that's in the key of E Phrygian. If you go to A Phrygian, where Bullerius and tangos are played, then on the 2nd fret, 3rd string, that's an A note. Just 1 fret up from that note. If you go add in a similar way we did with E, if you add the 3rd fret on the 1st string with your little finger, that will give an A7th with a flat 9. Another one that's slightly more unusual in Minera, where you have this, you put a kind of a bar where the A chord would be just on the 1st fret. That gives you a G sharp. But the G sharp, just 1 fret up from the G sharp, in other words the flat 9, is going to be an A, G sharp A. But the bonus here is that you have an open A string that you can play against it. And then of course you could add your 4th finger on the G sharp now and here. So you got your G sharp, and then 1 fret higher, but you're using the open string. So, you've seen a few examples. Flat 9 is the same thing as a flat 2nd, and it is the note in the Phrygian mode, and which is what gives flamenco music its character, basically. It's the #1 thing that gives it its character. 1 fret up from your root note, whatever key you're playing in, use 1. There's your flat 9. Use it. Thanks for watching.